Hi and welcome to Daily TFT Tips. Today, I wanted to take a look at the upcoming B patch for tomorrow. It is tomorrow for EU West. Should be up around Wednesday morning, I think, 7, 8 a.m. or something. And it's a pretty large one, so I think it's pretty important that we talk about this one. Mortok posted a little bit of reasoning behind the changes. I would say the overall gist of it is that they weren't comfortable with the state of the game. So this is going to be a very large B patch. Honestly, it's not even worth calling a B patch because it's so large, right? It's so influential towards how the game is going to get played. This patch is going to change so much. The reason for this is because we're not going to have a patch after tomorrow for 3 weeks. This is pretty risky on their part. I'm not too sure it's going to work out, especially with tournaments coming up and stuff like this. So we'll have to see. So his main goals for the patch was to lower the pace of combat by lowering the highest DPS champions and reducing the ceiling on outlier augments. I do think, honestly, that the game pace was too fast. I think that people die. I think overall that an Aurelia was able to kill the board too fast, or a champion like Kaisa who needs time to ramp, or a champion like Jhin who needs a little bit of time to cast. They weren't getting their stuff out, right? Because everybody just gets blown up within seconds. So I do think the overall goal of slowing down the game is a good one. Let's see the changes. I'm just going to read them out loud, so don't worry about it if you have trouble reading it. First up, we have for the one cost Brand. His VIP damage reduction goes from 30 to 45%. What does this mean? Well, right now, if he's VIP, he shoots a second firebolt. That firebolt deals less damage though than the first one, and now it's going to deal even less damage, meaning that VIP Brand might have been performing a little bit too good. Same for Twitch, his AD scaling goes down. This is the second Twitch nerf, so I think we might get to a position where Twitch 3-star might not be that good anymore. We'll have to see. For Ashe, she gets a huge AD nerf from 70 to 60. And that one's going to have consequences. So for example, an Ashe 1-star to 2-star, she gets 1.8 of her base. So that means that every time something like attack speed or AD or base HP gets nerfed, it's never a nerf. It's never a simple nerf. It's always a scaling nerf because this has an impact for the 2-star Ashe, and it has an impact for the 3-star Ashe because 2 times you're gonna have lower scaling than before. So these types of nerfs, they're pretty brutal. That's quite a considerable damage reduction. For Corki, it's 15 here, and what is that? 3-3. That's honestly not that much. I mean, it's 20 here, 25 here, a little bit more here. It's like 17. Not the biggest problem. The thing about Corki is that Corki is fine until he gets sharpshooter, and then he's not fine. So this is honestly, I hope they're gonna nerf the sharpshooter augment. Otherwise, these types of changes don't really make a difference. We have the Rek'Sai base heal going up. So the overall idea here would be that increasing tankiness, right? This is also one way to slow down the game, which is that increasing the tankiness of the frontliners so they don't get blown up as fast. As for Zyra, she has a damage nerf, quite considerable. This is the second damage nerf we had. Zyra 3-star at this point, this reminds me a lot about the Lissandra 3-star. And I think at this point it might honestly not even be worth that much going for 3-star Zyra anymore. I think maybe in a 7 Debonaires, but this is pretty brutal nerfs. I mean, that base damage isn't that high anymore to justify committing on this comp. I'm not sure, maybe I'm wrong on this, but it does look like similar numbers to Lissandra when Lissandra became from viable carry to unviable. So yeah, doesn't look too good for Zyra here. Talon, on the other hand, I don't think is hit that hard. His base damage is still really high. It's also true damage on the VIP, and even though a lot of his damage comes from his dot, I mean, he still does considerable damage with auto attacks as well, so I think Talon got off pretty light here. We'll see. Zyra, oh yeah, Zyra totally needed a nerf. This one I 100% agree with. Zyra, so many times, Zyra decides games, matches by herself. Her ultimate is crazy useful and crazy strong. I'm honestly surprised that they didn't address this sooner. I mean, she is a 2-cost unit with an AoE ability that had a 325 as a 1-star, a 450 as a 2-star, I mean, and 675 as 3-star. And she was 3-star a lot in Ashe comps. People rolled Zyra together with Ashe. Crazy! I can't even believe that those numbers were so high. So yeah, please nerf Zyra. Definitely too strong. As for Gnar, we have an 80 spell reduction. I'm not really seeing much Gnar carry. I don't think. I mean, he's a popular item dump. So, but I don't think this is gonna take him down or anything. It's just reducing the power, right? This was the whole goal of the patches: reduce the power, but don't actually kill these champions. So I guess it's fine. As for Lucian should probably get a considerable nerf, but it's not even that bad. I mean, it's the thing about these numbers is you always have to take into consideration that he has several of these shots, and with twin shot that doubles. So every single number that you reduce from Lucian, it's a lot more than it appears on the first glance. Definitely looks like Lucian is still viable though. This is not. I don't think it's gonna make that much of a dent. Morgana is getting. That's a nerf. I mean, so the weight 40, 60. So she needs less money. No, it should be the same. It's the same with the difference that Shroud hits her harder and the second ultimate hits her harder. Okay, that was not that complicated. Senna base attack speed nerf. I mean, Senna carry is fine. You know, this has a interesting side effect with Woodland Trinket, because a lot of the times when I'm playing Woodland Trinket, Senna ends up being the highest attack speed because of her 0.75 scaling. So that might help out in getting some Woodland combos out maybe in the future. We'll have to see. And Vex also gets a slight nerf. First ultimate is the same. Second takes a bit longer. For Ahri, we have damage per additional orb on the same target is a lot lower. Ahri doing pretty good right now, I would say. Draven, only 5 AD nerf? That is not much. I mean, compared to Ashe, this is a lot less. But then again, I think Draven is great on this patch. But I also don't think he's a great top 4 comp. And if you want to get the top 2, you probably need a strong AP Zeri 2-star or something like this. I think it's fine. I think if your goal is to reduce the power level of everyone, Draven is somebody you should definitely hit very slightly, because otherwise you might risk killing this champion, because he's kind of in a fine state right now. I wouldn't address him too much. Aurelia also gets a base AD nerf. Again, these types of nerfs, they're scaling a lot, so yeah. Sivir even gets a buff. Spellbounce AD. I think Sivir, it's the same. As long as Striker and Hextech exists like it does right now, I don't think that this is gonna change much. I don't like Sivir, I think. See, the thing about what's the difference between Aurelia and Sivir? Aurelia bursts and Sivir is sustained damage. Meaning the ricochets, there's a lot of ricochets that deal a decent amount of damage, right? But it's never burst. And sustained damage, or wave damage, I don't know how you want to call it, tends to be the worst one because people can react. If you do sustained damage, that means people will get their mana bar filled up and they cast and they can react. If somebody's bursting, they can't react. They're just gone. So burst always has been the better damage type. And Sivir just has a disadvantage there. Her being wave damage, her being sustained damage. But I think on the patch that comes after this, they're gonna address Hextech and Strikers a little bit. But until then, for now at least, I don't really see myself running an AD Sivir. I tried it, I didn't like it that much. Galio gets a buff. I agree with this. I think Galio was a little bit too squishy. And Kaisa gets a buff. I agree with this as well. I think Kaisa barely makes it as a legendary unit right now. Like, who right now would be like, yeah, there's a Kaisa in my shop. I can give her these items and she's totally gonna carry. The reality of the situation right now is I barely see a Kaisa getting a second ult out. And I think the main issue still is that GA was so important for her and it's gone. But Edge of Night is still really, really good on Kaisa. This is something people don't know. Edge of Night is fantastic on Kaisa, but the problem is you used to slam GA. You're like, okay, I'm going to give Morgana this, I'm going to slam GA, I'm going to give it Morgana, I'm going to put it in the front line. Awesome. And now it's like, I don't want to slam Edge of Night. I don't want to run. I don't want to build Edge of Night as my first item. And this is part of the problem. A lot of the times the BFs gets used up for different items like Infinity Edge and BT and this type of stuff. So you end up, oftentimes you don't end up with an Edge of Night for the Kaisa, which immediately makes her a lot less useful. So, but still, I'm pretty happy they're buffing her. I do think she's right now underperforming a lot. It's not that large of a buff. It's fine. Let's go to the traits. We have Clockwork. Oh, I'm surprised they're buffing Clockwork. Okay. I think on this patch, honestly, for Clockwork with Jhin is pretty solid. There's a if you're starting Augment is a Clockwork card, I think going something like Jhinnovator, so 5 Innovator for Clockwork with Jhin, is a pretty solid comp right now. So I'm kind of surprised. Should be fine for Clockwork. Should definitely be viable. Debonair is likely a nerf, right? Yeah, that's an expected nerf. Don't think it's gonna kill the comp, but yeah, expected nerf. Tibbers, ooh, that's a bigger one. 15 armor MR, that makes Tibbers a lot less interesting. Also buffing the resistances of the dragon. You know, I didn't even think these types of. I mean, I do agree with nerfing Innovators. I think they're overperforming on this patch, and you can see it in competitive. Innovators are by far the best tier comp at making consistent top 4 placements and even consistent top 2 placements. The only thing I'm trying to understand here is they said their goal was to reduce the overall damage, the power creep, I think. They nerfed Morgana, Vex, and the Innovators. They did nerf a considerable amount of frontliners, and making frontliners more squishy. Shouldn't this result in more bursty plays? I don't know, maybe? We'll have to see. I do agree on the nerf, but I'm not sure if the tankiness of the innovations is the right way to approach a line with their goals. Well, let me hear what you guys have to say about this in the comments. I'm a little bit unsure on this one. Strikers. Strikers get a buff. That's not really a surprise, but why would you ever run a 4 or 6 striker? This is such a fake trait. I hate this trait. They should rework it. Syndicate gets a nerf. That's to be expected. Build Different gets nerfed. That's to be expected. Hex Nova is now 2 hex range instead of 1. You know, I hate Hex Nova as an augment. Right now I think it's useless. And I still think it's going to be useless after this one. But, and this is an important but, after they rework or buff Hextech or whatever, this augment is going to become crazy. This is going to end up becoming a setup for this augment to become crazy. I don't think Riot is happy right now with the state of Hextech. It's pretty miserable state. Once Hextech becomes viable again, this Hex Nova augment is going to be pretty strong. Irresistible Charm nerf to be expected. One for all nerf to be expected. Sharpshooter bonus damage decrease. You know, I kind of think they should have went farther with the Sharpshooter one. Those Quirky Illusion and Sharpshooter nerfs are pretty minor considering how oppressive this comp is. So I think here I disagree. I think they should have went harder. I mean, Sharpshooter is the best augment in the game. I think they could have went harder on this. So yeah, I think they missed out here. I think Sharpshooter. I think Twin Shot. I always say Sharpshooter instead of Twin Shot. I think it's because for me they're one and the same, right? Sharpshooter is broken, Twin Shot is broken. Therefore, Twin Shots are Sharpshooters. Yeah, I don't know. I think they missed the shot here. Should have went harder. Sniper's Nest nerf, that's nice. This is a lot of the augments that I went over in my previous video. Charm, 1 for all Sharpshooter, Sniper's Nest, so small. So yeah, they're definitely nerfing the higher performing augments. So small, only 25% dodge, that's pretty sad. Three's a company can only appear in round 1-4, that's nice, that's very needed because why the hell? It was so frustrating seeing Three's a company in stage 3 and 4. It's such a trash augment outside of stage 1. So very, very happy with this change. Probably my favorite change in this patch notes. And true justice, true damage 50 to 80. I don't think that makes a difference. The thing is, this is true damage for targets below 50% HP, right? And the only one that can make use of it is Vi, and Vi is I don't like it. I think it's still bad. Cutthroat increases the target's mana by the intended 50 instead of 65%. That's nice. I didn't even know this. Fix an issue preventing Knife's Edge, Battle Mage, Featherweight, and Triforce being offered. You know, I've been wondering about this in my video when there was no data on those, so good to know that this is getting fixed. Calculated loss no longer grants 2 gold on wins. Well, that's crazy, and you know, I was wondering why calculated loss was performing so hard in the data that we went over. And I think we have the answer for why. So I expect calculated loss to take a nosedive. Wait, was that on everyone or was it just occasionally? I didn't even know about this one. Crazy. That is so crazy. Yeah, but this is totally a bug that can slip by, because how often do you count the gold that you're receiving? It might see, in stage 2, you pay attention towards loose streaking to build up your economy, and afterwards you kind of forget about it. So it totally makes sense that you're not counting your gold in stage 3 or 4 a lot of the times when you're losing. You're not checking if the augment is giving you gold on a win, at least. Pretty interesting one. So let's sum up this patch. What do we think? Lots of good stuff. I do think we have a power creep. I do think a lot of this is going to address it. Big fan of Ashe nerfs. I think the Ashe comp really took a hard hit here, so this makes me happy. We should probably also mention champions not getting nerfed, because a lot of the times when you have a patch, it's not only about the nerfs and the buffs, it's about who didn't get touched. Because if everybody gets nerfed and some champions ended up being on a similar level and they ended up not getting nerfed, they immediately get elevated to top tier. This has happened several times in the history of TFT. For me, the first one that comes to mind is Jhin, probably. I think Jhin is not a bad comp. Syndicate is fine. Jhinnovator is fine. Bodyguard Jhin is probably fine as well. Clockwork Jhin, 4 Clockwork, got even better now. Makes me happy though. I think Jhin was pretty interesting. So it's a thumbs up for me. Can definitely see Jhin comms becoming more relevant. Yeah, let me know what you guys think about these patch notes. Did Riot hit the mark or did they miss it? Was there something you thought they should have done? And other than that, see you guys tomorrow.